Today's video is sponsored in part by Vendu.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Amy. Today I'm back with another Ship With Me video. These are sales from over the weekend. I did not have any sales online between Saturday afternoon and Monday, but I did have some in-person sales, and then between Monday and Tuesday I had sales on Poshmark. So today is Tuesday, April 8th, and I have 4 things that I sold on Poshmark to ship out, and then I'll tell you more about the items that sold in person, and those were some really great sales. So I am excited to share those. The first sale is a set of this brooch and matching earrings. These are costume jewelry with faux pearls, and the brooch is signed Marvella, which I had not heard of this brand before, but I recently picked up a large lot of jewelry from someone, and there was over 100 pieces, and this was in there. It's possible that I underpriced this set because it sold in less than 24 hours. And sometimes that can be, you know, a clue that you underpriced it or you priced it exactly right. So it sold for $58 for the set. I did look up comps for this brand and this exact brooch. However, I did not find comps for a set. So for just the brooch, the comps were between like 25 and 40. So I priced it at, I think it's 64, and then this buyer liked it and got a 10% off offer with discounted shipping. So they got it for 58 with discounted shipping. I'm okay with that. You know, I'm happy that it sold quickly, and I don't really feel like if I did leave money on the table, I don't really feel like it was a ton of money. So my average cost of goods for that big lot of jewelry was about $4. So after Posh fees, my cost of goods, and the shipping discount, that made my profit $39.12. I'm really pleased with that, especially for, you know, listing it and selling it within 24 hours. Wasn't really that difficult to list, won't be difficult to ship, so I am happy about that for sure. Okay, the next item was also a relatively quick sale, not less than 24 hours, but I think it only took a couple of weeks or so. And it is this Silpata band ring with little CZs. Silpata is a, what do you want to call it? It's like a home party jewelry brand. So, you know, you would have a party and a host would come in and hand out the catalogs and people would order from it. But it's somewhat collectible. This ended up selling for $40. Like I said, it's sterling silver. I have had pretty good luck with Silpata. Some things command really great prices, some moderate, and some not so good. I might have been able to hold out for a little bit more on this, but I decided that I was happy with that $40 offer. I only paid $3 for this because I got it at the estate sale where I spent $890. So that made my profit $29. I'm happy with that. For those of you who are new here, I typically use the small flat wrap box for my jewelry, or sometimes I will use the padded flat rate envelope. Just kind of depends on what I have and if I think the item is fragile at all. The next item's kind of an interesting sale. It is this vintage belt buckle, and it says Mount St. Helens on it. I just picked this up at an estate sale. It was on a belt, and sometimes when I'm at sales and I'm just grabbing stuff, if I see a nice leather belt with a belt buckle and it's, you know, belts are $1, I'll just grab it without really looking too closely. And turned out that for this, the belt buckle really wasn't, or the belt, the leather portion really wasn't in that great a condition. So I listed just the buckle and it sold for $25. I paid about, $1 for it. So that made my profit $19. This took a long time to sell, over a year. So not something that I would really recommend, you know, picking up. When I just sell belt buckles individually, unless there's something special, typically they don't sell very quickly for me, but I still list them because they're pretty easy to list and store. Okay, the next item just sold, and it's just this little teeny saxophone charm or pendant. It has a little bail on there, so you could put it on a necklace or add a jump ring and add it to a charm bracelet. Let's see, this sold for $14. I only paid $1 for it. So that made my profit $10.05. This also took a long time to sell, over a year. But as I said before, with charms, they don't take up much room and they're easy to store. So I don't really mind if it takes a while to sell. I'm excited to thank today's video sponsor, Vendoo. For those of you who aren't familiar with Vendoo, they are a cross-listing platform that also offers other tools that can help streamline and scale your reselling business. Those of you who have been watching for a while now know that I have been talking about cross-listing my items to eBay. So when Vendoo approached me about trying out their product and partnering with them, I was beyond thrilled, and even more thrilled when I tried out the product and really liked the functionality of it. I really think that it is going to be a game changer for my business. A few of the things that I really like about their service is, of course, it makes it a lot easier to cross-list your existing items to other platforms. With just a click of a button, it loads all of the information that you already have, say in your Poshmark listing, over to eBay, and then you just complete the additional fields that eBay has, then click list your item, and it is easy peasy. This is what I needed to take the next step in diversifying my business. When you cross list to multiple platforms, it gives you the potential to scale your business, meaning the potential to make more money because you are sharing your items to a broader base of customers. If you guys would like to give Vendoo a try, you can use the link in my description box below and save 25% off your first month. The other thing that I'm really excited about and is going to be really helpful for me, because one of my kind of hang-ups about cross-listing on other platforms was my lack of organization. And I was really afraid that I would cross-list to multiple platforms, it would sell on one platform, and I would forget that I had it listed on other platforms. With Vendoo, they have an add-on feature that will detect when your item sells on one platform and automatically delist it from the other platforms. This is a very, very important feature for someone like me. And if you share some of the characteristics where you really love the thrifting, but the organization part is not so good, this would be a really helpful tool for you too. They have different plans for different business sizes. So if you're a hobby seller or you're doing this as a side hustle, they have a little bit smaller plan that's more affordable. Or if you have hundreds or thousands of items listed, they have a plan for you too. If you click the link in my description box to try out Vendoo, you get the 25% off, like I said, and I'm sure you'll like it. If you do, I would really recommend looking into one of their annual plans. You get additional features for a better price. Thank you so very much to Vendoo for sponsoring today's video. Now back to what has sold this week. Okay, now on to what sold in my, so most of these sales are a result of me listing some items on Facebook Marketplace. So I've been mentioning that my husband and I are working towards having a yard sale, and so I've been cleaning out some storage areas here at the shop, and I have quite a few project pieces of furniture that I've realized I'm just never going to get to. So I listed a few pieces on Saturday evening. Yes, Saturday evening. and someone said they wanted one of the pieces. It was a wood chair frame. It just needed to have cushions made. So of course, for all of these, I'll put pictures up, but it had been sitting in my storage area for years, and I just decided I was done with it. So I listed that for $60. These people had purchased from me before in my shop and off Facebook Marketplace, and they ended up buying 4 more things in addition to the chair. So the chair I sold for $60. I paid $10 for it. They paid cash for everything, so no fees or anything, which is great. So that made my profit $50. They then bought this pair of solid brass cats, which if you watched one of my last Thrift With Me videos, I picked these up at a thrift store in Lewiston, Idaho. These really beautiful, solid, nice quality brass cats. And they bought those for $140 for the pair. I paid about $16 for them, so that made my profit $124. Super excited about that. Then they bought this really cool pair of carved wood table lamps, and they were in kind of like an Asian dragon shape. I had these for years and years. I mean, over 5 years in the retail portion of my shop. And no one had bought them, but I loved them too much that I just didn't really mind them kind of hanging around. And I'd never listed them online because they were just the lamp portion. They didn't have any electrical wiring. Again, another project. It would have been super easy to just get a lamp wiring kit from Home Depot and wire those, but I never did. This woman had looked at them in the past when she had been in the shop, and she, because they were buying multiple things, I gave her a deal on them, and I sold them to her for $150 for the pair. Very, very cool pieces. I paid about $25 for the pair, so that made my profit $125 on those. So they spent $640, this couple, after seeing that chair on Facebook Marketplace for $60. So sometimes I feel like listing on Facebook Marketplace isn't worth it because there are a lot of flaky people on there. Like I listed an end table, and someone messaged me and said, "I'm really interested in this. Is it still available?" And I responded to them within 5 minutes and said it's still available. And then they just go, thumbs up. And then they ghost, which happens all the time on Facebook Marketplace. But eventually mixed in, I get some quality buyers, and I end up selling pieces on there. Okay, the next item they bought was this vintage Curtis Jere, or Jerry. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but the last name is Jere. And this company was actually a partnership. It wasn't, a lot of people thought it was one individual artist, but the name is made up, and it's a partnership originally between 2 people. Most of these metal wall art sculptures are signed C. Jere, and they can be quite collectible. So they bought one, and it was about this big, kind of one of his smaller pieces, and it was like a shore scene with sailboats and seagulls, and they bought that for $300. I had it priced at $349, but again, I gave them a discount because they were buying multiple items and paying cash. And I had also had this for a really long time, over 5 years as well. I paid $50 for that, so that made my profit $250 on that. I am thrilled to move out some of this really old inventory and make some really great profits. The next item that sold was another woman who had been in the shop when I had an open house before Christmas, and she bought some barware and then went home and thought about it, and there was another barware set that she had seen that she decided she wanted. And she messaged me and said, "I want that other barware set." And I said, "Okay, I'll hold it for you." And then she just never came back. But then as I was listing, items, the items that I listed on Facebook Marketplace, I also listed on my business Facebook page, and she must have saw those listings and it popped into her head and said, oh, I never came and got those glasses. So anyways, she came and got the set of glasses. It was $90 for the set. I paid $10 at an estate sale. She paid with her card, so there was a little bit of a processing fee, so that made my profit $75. So $740 just from making those posts on Facebook Marketplace. So sometimes, you know, activity results in other activity, or it usually works out that way for me. And I have some more items to list on there, so I'm hoping to get those listed in the next couple of days, just because I'm ready to move out these project pieces that I'm not going to get to, and I'm not going to get as high amounts as if I fixed them up, but I'm still going to make a profit, and I'll have less clutter and a more organized kind of storage area. So hopefully I can get more organized, some of this stuff in the background. We shall see. But anyways, I'm really happy that I had those sales to offset the fact that my Poshmark and Cherish sales were pretty slow. Thank you guys so very much for watching, but don't go anywhere. This video will continue with what else I sell this week. And as always, if you enjoy my content and you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, that way you don't miss any of my future uploads. Also give this video a thumbs up and make a comment down below. All those things really help me out. Fingers crossed that my sales continue to be good this week. I'll be right back. Hey again, it's Wednesday, the next day, and I had an interior designer message me on Cherish and ask if I could hold an item. And then within about 30 minutes, she came back and asked if I would take $350 for the item. I had it marked at $439. And the item is this vintage art glass decanter. And it has this, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but it has this ombre effect to it. It is green and kind of fades to brown. And I picked this up at an estate sale just because I thought it was cool looking. And then I used Google Lens and found the identical decanter, and it is by Greenwich Flint Craft, which I had never heard of before. Apparently that is the company, and the designer is Tom Connolly. So when I looked up comps for this type or this brand, they had very high prices, and so I priced this really high. And I think originally I had it listed at $489, and I had reduced it by 10% recently. And then she offered me that $350, which I thought was great, considering I only paid $3 for this at an estate sale. I'm absolutely thrilled. So another thing is that she needed it for an installation that she is doing on Monday. And this is not the first time I've had this happen with an interior designer on Cherish, where they wait to the last minute or something else falls through in the overall design concept and they need items shipped expedited. I have had people have me overnight ship things before, so this will be expedited second day error. So she should get it in time for Monday. Hopefully. It's Wednesday, so hopefully it gets there in time. But the reason I tell you this is that it's always good to have boxes and packaging on hand ready for your items so that you can fulfill these orders quickly and make sure you get the sale. I told her if you purchase by 3 p.m. my time, then I can ship same day. And that can be really important to, you know, close these deals. And after Cherish's fee and my cost of goods, that made my profit $282 on this one item. So I definitely want to be available and ready to ship items. That's the other reason I've mentioned over and over again, I like selling on Cherish, because a lot of interior designers shop on there and they are ready to spend their clients' money, and it's money is no object oftentimes. Another thing was that she complimented me on the items that I have available in my shop. She's like, I love all your items you have for sale, which means almost as much as the $282 profit. It just feels really good to have an interior designer tell you that they like your taste in items, basically. So all in all, this was a really great sale. So that's it for today. I just came in to get this shipped out, but I will be back tomorrow to share what else I sell, or maybe even on Friday. Okay, don't go anywhere. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. See you in a bit. Hey again, it is Thursday and I've got a couple things to ship out that sold on Poshmark. So the first item is this vintage 1970s or 1960s leisure suit. So it is the blazer and a pair of pants, and this is just polyester, but it's made to look like denim, which I thought was kind of fun. The brand is A La Mode of California. There's the vintage label. This did not have a size mark on it, so I listed it under the size that I thought it was. And this is what I do with vintage items when there are no size tag. So here are the pants. They're just pull on with elastic, and they're they're definitely bell bottom. So when an item doesn't have a size tag, then I will, of course, put as many measurements in the listing as possible, and I will write no size tag, estimated as a women's size medium to large, which is what this measured at. And you know, the sizing can really depend on how loose or tight someone likes to wear their items. So I have had a little bit better luck with these leisure suits in the past, but this one had been listed just over a year, I believe, and I hadn't had really any interest in it, and I got this offer for $30 this morning, so I decided to accept that. I did pay up a little bit for this. I paid $9 for it at the Goodwill because, like I said, I think I sold another one of these leisure suits for like $120 or something. It was a really cool Kelly green color though, and it had a more desirable brand. So when I looked up the brand that it was, it seemed like that was a more collectible brand. So anyways, you know, you win some, you lose some, and I still made a profit of $15 on this. And it is sold. I don't have to hang on to it anymore. It is the summer of sales, so I'm trying to accept reasonable offers. I did get a few other offers this week that were less than 50% of my asking price. And I've mentioned that there's certain things I'm just not going to sell for rock bottom prices. If it makes sense, I will definitely do it. Let's see, I might have to jam that in there a little bit better. The next item is this Eddie Bauer puffer coat, and I thought this was a pretty color. I don't always pick up Eddie Bauer. It's not the quickest seller for me, even though it can have a higher retail, and this was down, but it was a petite small. It sold for $30, if I didn't already say that. I only paid $1 for this at a kind of fill the bag type sale. That was the other reason that I picked it up. But seeing as we are, in spring and it's not winter anymore, I am more motivated to accept offers on coats so that I'm not storing them through the summer. So that made my profit $23 on this. I'm just fine with that. I didn't Like I said, I didn't anticipate this would have a super high sales price. I did notice after it sold though, that in my title, I had Eddie Bauer misspelled. So I only had it with one D. Of course, I had the brand name field, you know, correctly listed under Eddie Bauer, but that could have been a reason that this didn't sell before that too. But either way, I'm happy with that. I haven't really had a ton of sales on Poshmark this week, but those other sales that I've had are really making up for it. So I'm really happy about that. I hope you guys are having a good sales week. Don't go anywhere. This video will continue with what else they sell over the next couple of days. I'll be right back. Hey again, it's Saturday and I have two more things to ship out. One of them is a pretty good sale, the other one not so much, but I'm happy to have a couple things going out. So the first sale is this pair of little vases, and these sold on Cherish. And I used Google Lens to look up some keywords for these, and my title was Vintage Japanese Akatsuki Ginberi Cloisonne Petite Vases, Pigeon Blood Red, Rose Floral, a pair. So that's a mouthful. But this red is called the Pigeon Blood, and as you can see, it is the wire with enamel set down in it, just like Cloisonne. So there was a lot of keywords to use on these. I'm having trouble spitting it out. These did take quite a while to sell, or I had them a while, and I think they've been listed on Cherish for over a year, but they ended up selling for $93 for the pair. I paid about $4 a piece for them, so a total of $8. So that made my profit $65.64. Overall, I'm happy with that. I don't know that I would pick these up again necessarily, but I kind of have a soft spot for like Asian design type stuff. I think I've mentioned this before, but it doesn't always sell the greatest for me. Sometimes I just pick it up because I like it, and eventually it does sell for decent prices. It's just not a quick seller. You definitely have to wait for the right buyer to come along. But these were pretty tiny, so I was okay with waiting, I guess. Overall, I am happy with that sale. The next sale was the other coat from the thrift store competition from when my husband and our friend did a competition to find the best item at the thrift store. So this sold for less than I wanted it to and less than I think it's worth, but we are coming out of coat season, and so I just decided to go ahead and accept. This sold for $30. So the reason that I accepted the lower price, so it's this vintage suede and leather jacket by Adler. So the reason that I accepted this lower price was because this is meant to be originally a men's coat, but the sizing is quite small and the sleeves were kind of short. So it fit more like a women's coat. I just felt like it had some things going against it. I really had very little interest in the coat, like only 1 or 2 likes on it. I had listed it, relisted it, listed it under men's, listed it under women's, and just wasn't really getting much interest. So when this buyer wanted to buy it for $30, I just decided to go ahead and accept it. This is probably maybe not something that I would have picked up unless we had been doing that competition between my husband and our friend, and this was my husband's entry. So our friend ended up winning, of course, because his coat sold for $50 about a month ago. So I did pay up for this. I paid $15. like I said, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. So I only made a profit of $9 on this. Didn't even double my money. But that's okay. I was just ready to move it out, and I just didn't feel like I would get a substantial amount more for it if I waited. So this turned out to be a really great week. I'm really excited. I had some high dollar sales on average, which is great. So my total sales for the week were $1,422. Yes, I'm so excited about that. My total cost of goods was $157, and my total profit after website fees, cost of goods, and shipping discounts was $1,114.81. So I exceeded my $1,000 profit goal. So excited about that. More really great things. I sold a total, I had a total of 14 sales. So that made my average sale price $101.57. I think that is outstanding. Over $100 average sale price. My average cost of goods was $11.21. And my average profit per sale was $79.63. All really outstanding statistics. I'm super excited about how this week turned out, and really I would love for every week to be like this. Although maybe that's not realistic right now, but that's kind of where I am trying to head. I would really love to consistently have an over $50 average sale price. Over $100 would be amazing. Well, thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys had a great sales week. And also, hopefully for those of you who are my OG subscribers are still watching, but I had a company approach me about a potential sponsorship this week, and I'm really excited to potentially work with them. It will be my first sponsored video, and it's a company that I have been interested in working with. And it aligns with some of my needs as a reseller business owner. And I think that it's something that you all will be interested in using. So I'm super excited. Fingers crossed that that comes through, and I have some sponsored videos coming up soon. I'm really excited about that because ultimately that is what YouTubers work toward. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe, ring the bell, that way you don't miss any of my future uploads. Give this video a thumbs up and make a comment down below. All those things really help me out, and I'll see you guys all again next week. Thanks so much for watching.